Hello there, folks. My name is Spooks, and welcome back to another episode of Box Office Chat. This is the show where I break down the top 5 domestic box office results, see where each movie landed, and see how well each movie did. We're just coming off of Halloween weekend. I hope you all had a safe and happy Halloween. Hope you all dressed wonderfully and ate a ton of candy and had a good time with your friends and family. So, with that out of the way, let's get started. Number 5 was Venom Let There Be Carnage, making $5.7 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to $190 million and its worldwide total to $395 million. So it has now officially surpassed Black Widow both domestically and worldwide. Once again, if you told me this scenario would happen like earlier this year, I would have called you crazy. But once again, here we are. The fact that this movie not only did that, but is also now officially the second highest grossing film of the year domestically is astonishing, and this just puts it 10 million away from crossing 200 million domestically, which I think is still a safe bet. I don't think it's gonna surpass Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings' domestic total, because while it is so close, it is still so far, and I think the film might be running out of steam right now, and it's probably going to take a hit next week with some very stiff competition, which we'll get to later in the video. But I feel 200 million is still in the bag because it's only got 10 million to get there, so it should probably get there very soon. And now this puts it also just 5 million away from 400 million worldwide, which it will get there very soon for sure. So overall, another solid weekend for the film, and while it is slowing down on Steam, it is at $5 million at this point. I just hope that it can manage to make enough and stay in the top 5 for just a couple more weeks so I can talk about when it crosses $200 million, because I think that will be worth celebrating. But once again, seeing how this week we got a big profile movie, and November as a whole is very crowded in terms of huge profile movies, I think that's probably not going to happen. But even still, this movie has crushed it. It has done so well. I'm sure everyone who worked on this film and saw this film is very happy that the film made the moolah it did, and as am I. I could not be more happier with how well this movie did financially. Number 4 was quite a surprise because I didn't even know this movie was coming out, and that is My Hero Academia World Heroes Mission, making 6.4 million on its opening weekend domestically and 34 million worldwide. Yeah, so this pretty much came out of nowhere. In fact, it is the only new release to make it into the top 5, as the other two I thought were at least cop out at like numbers 4 and 5. Antlers and Last Night in Soho couldn't make enough to make it into the top 5, which is disappointing to say the least. And the fact that it was My Hero Academia, the movie, to make it in there shows how devoted of a fan base and how popular of an anime this anime really is, as this is the biggest opening for any of the My Hero Academia films to be released in the past couple years, and it is even the highest grossing My Hero Academia movie worldwide, which is very good. So yeah, things are looking pretty good for this movie, although it is a limited release. I don't know how long it will be released in theaters, but I assume it probably won't be in theaters or in the top 5 like a month from now. But even for a limited release, this is still an impressive opening, and I'm curious to see where this movie goes from here. But I'm not sure how long this movie will be in theaters, and if the buzz around the film really carries on in the coming weeks or however long it's playing. So don't be surprised if the film doesn't make it into the top 5 next week, because it could either be that everyone went to see it this weekend and then the heat just kind of sort of died down, or the limited release wrapped up. But once again, this is a very impressive start for this movie, and I look forward to seeing where it goes. Number 3 was No Time to Die, making 7.7 million this weekend, bringing its domestic total to 133 million and its worldwide total to 604 million. So the movie continues to hold strong. It had a drop off of just 36%, which is really good. It shows that it's being able to maintain its core audience, and people are encouraging others to see it, which is very good. And while it's obviously pales in comparison to Spectre or Skyfall for numerous reasons that are pretty understandable given the circumstances, once again, I think that this is satisfying enough considering how long it's been and with this whole pandemic we are still currently in. And while I don't think 200 million domestically is going to be something this film reaches to in the future, I see this film capping at 150 million domestically, which once again I think is pretty good for, once again, given the circumstances, and just any movie crossing that milestone is exceptionally good during these times. But where the movie once again succeeds is worldwide. It has now surpassed 600 million worldwide. It has become one of the biggest movies of the year worldwide, and it is about to surpass Fast Nine's international worldwide gross of 712 million. It is nearly 100 million behind it, which is very impressive, and I see it surpassing it very soon, and hopefully this movie stays in the top 5 like Venom does for a couple more weeks so I can discuss that milestone because that's interesting. But once again, it's another good weekend for No Time to Die. It could have done better, but once again, it could have done a lot worse, so I think this total is pretty good. Number 2 was Halloween Kills, making 8.7 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 85 million and a worldwide total of 114 million. So no surprise to anyone, this film had a terrific hold this weekend, falling just 39%, which is a large improvement over its 71% from last weekend, and it's pretty understandable for why this movie did so well this weekend, as it's Halloween Kills, and it was Halloween this weekend, so people really wanted to get to the spirit of the holiday and watch a really scary movie, and this movie did just that. It had the benefit of opening in October around Halloween to get people into the spirit of it, and because of that, people went to see it. And I think 100 million domestically is a reasonable bet for the film in the future, but it's probably not gonna be really soon or as quick as many people are hoping for, because, well, it's November and we live in modern times, so, well, you know what happens. So I think from this weekend on, this movie is going to take massive hits, as many people will no longer be in the spirit to getting spooked or scared, as they'll want to be in the spirit of spending time with their friends and families and loved ones for Thanksgiving, but more specifically Christmas. And yeah, I think this film is going to struggle a lot during this part of the year, but even with that, this film was able to do really well for itself. It costed $20 million and has made over $100 million worldwide, which even for this movie, that is impressive. It scored the biggest opening weekend for any horror film released post-pandemic, which is also great, and it was a huge hit on Peacock. Apparently, it's the biggest title that was released on the streaming service thus far, and that's really impressive. And whether you like it or not, or how well this movie did, we are still getting that third movie apparently coming out in, I believe, next year, or I could be wrong, but that movie's still coming out. And once again, I still think $100 million domestically is pretty reasonable to say for the film in the long run, but it's, once again, due to it being November and the holidays around the corner, I think this film is probably going to struggle. But once again, a very solid weekend for the film this week. And finally, let's end the video off with the number one movie of the weekend, and that was Dune, making 15 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 69 million and a worldwide total of 291 million. So unfortunately, this is yet another Warner Brothers film that fell succumb to the second week drop off. It had a very steep 62% drop off from its first weekend, which for any movie that's not very good. But I won't say this is a failure or this is anything to be concerned over. This is not like Space Jam. This is not like the Suicide Squad. As it's still doing pretty well for itself, it's pretty much about to surpass Space Jam domestically. And given how well it's doing, I think it can be the second biggest or even the biggest Warner Brothers release since Godzilla vs. Kong domestically. I see this movie surpassing 100 million in a couple weeks, which is very good, and it's about to surpass 300 million worldwide, and I think that's a really good indicator on how well this movie is doing in international countries as well, and I can see it even being one of the bigger releases. Maybe not to the extent of Fast 9 or No Time to Die, but maybe somewhere in that Venom, Let There Be Carnage, or Shang-Chi range, which is also very good. And like Halloween Kills, whether you like it or not, Dune will be getting its sequel. As of last week, I believe on the exact same day, I posted the box office chat for Dune's opening weekend. What a coincidence. Legendary Pictures and Warner Brothers announced that Dune will be getting its second part released in October of 2023, only in theaters, which is a very good sign that they are very happy with how this movie is doing, and they haven't said anything regarding the sequel, otherwise it's probably still going to come out at that time, so I think they're still satisfied with how well this movie's doing. I mean, again, it's doing better than Space Jam, so that's got to be worth something. But I think the indicator of this weekend shows that audience reaction and word of mouth isn't as strong as many would have hoped for, given its strong opening weekend. I think that everyone saw how well its opening weekend was and thought, oh, well, word of mouth is just going to keep on growing and this movie's just going to keep having strong legs. And while it's not doing terribly and people are still going to support it, I mean, it still made $15 million and it's still doing very well for itself. I think it just shows that audiences aren't as hyped for this film as the large majority of people who saw this are. And I think that many people, while they don't hate it necessarily, are probably indifferent and aren't really encouraging everyone to see this movie as they should. So it will be really interesting to see where this movie goes from here. I think once again it will cross 100 million domestic, and I think it even has a chance at 400 million worldwide. It's still going to make its budget back, but it will be interesting to see how the holds and how strong word of mouth is from this point on, because once again, November is a very crowded month for big tentpole movies, and I'm sure a lot of them will steal this movie's target audience away from it. So we'll see where this movie goes from here. But as for right now, Dune is still doing fine. For it's one of the biggest hits for Warner Brothers in a while, and it's probably going to be one of the biggest hits of the year. So Dune is not in trouble, I would say, but it will be very interesting to see where, once again, how things turn out for the film in the future. And those were the top 5 domestic box office results for this weekend, but we're not quite done yet as we've got another week ahead of us and new movies hitting theaters this weekend. And this weekend we really only have one major release, and that is Marvel Studios' Eternals. I think there is no doubt about it that this will be the number one movie of the weekend. It's a Marvel movie, so it's obviously going to have a huge opening weekend given how big Shang-Chi's opening weekend was. The marketing has been great. There's been tons of ads and a ton of tie-in marketing promos for it, and it is a very highly anticipated movie as well. And I think that it's going to be the biggest opening weekend since Venom Let There Be Carnage. The downside is, for a first time for a Marvel movie in quite some time, the reviews, which has been very mixed, which is surprising. It has been very up and down. The scores have been going all over the place. And that, while I don't think it's going to affect the opening weekend of the film because the ticket sales have been insanely good. I think they're even surpassing Venom Let There Be Carnage, which is insane, and I think everyone's going to go and be curious to see how this movie turns out on that first weekend. I think it's going to affect the film in the long run, and it'll be really curious to see how word of mouth is for the film. Will audiences prefer it over the critics? Will it be like the audiences hate the film more than the critics? We will see. But as for the opening weekend, things are looking pretty good for the Eternals. But we'll see how well this movie does, as well as the other movies that land in the top 5 on the next Box Office Chat. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of Box Office Chat. What did you guys think of the results? Were you satisfied, unsatisfied? Comment down below and let me know. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you like this channel, hit that subscribe button. Follow me on all of the social media links right there. And until next time, guys, stay sharp.